Hey, this is Patrick Coffin with something a little offbeat and a little personal. In the early part of November 2019, I decided to do something that I've been thinking about for a couple of years. And honestly, I never really imagined that I would do. And that is, I quit drinking. The idea first entered my mind to cut out all alcohol started about 2 years ago when my wife and I did this diet called the Whole30 diet based on a book called It Starts with Food. If you want to find out more, you can click the link below. One of the criteria for the Whole30 was no booze for 30 days, not a drop. Now, in the past, I'd given up drinking for Lent with a whiskey or maybe some red wine on Sunday because, I'm not a Southern Baptist and I prided myself on not really craving it through the week during Lent. But looking at 30 straight days of zero booze, that was a different deal for someone who really enjoyed the taste and the feeling of a nice buzz. It seemed to make me feel more creative. In fact, for the first time in my life, halfway through the Whole30, I felt a bit buzzed just from the feeling of having fasted from booze and crap sugar and bloating carbohydrates as well. Now, I like the feeling of drinking. Now, a still small voice after 2 weeks of none of it just kind of whispered, how would you like to feel this for the rest of your life? But the diet ended and I did feel good and I did lose weight, but I didn't stop drinking. And then a few months later, I was at a party and I heard about this Chaldean guy. I didn't know his name. And he was a Christian and he gave up drinking as a reparation for sinners to draw people back to Christ in the church. And that kind of made an impression on me. I'd heard about people like Venerable Matt Talbot, who was an Irish drunk who got sober and became a saint basically before AA. But I'd never heard of someone who gave up alcohol for the sake of strangers that you'll never meet in this life. I was impressed by it. I was strangely moved by hearing about this guy. But, not a fanatic, so that wouldn't be good for me. But hey, it's a good thing for someone else to do. And then the great composer Morton Lauridsen told me that he quit drinking. Morton is a living legend, by far the most performed choral composer in America. Click the link below for my interview with the great man. And for some reason, hearing about his decision to stop drinking also got my attention. Now, to understand why I quit drinking last fall, you have to understand that my father's father was a hopeless alcoholic who died in his early 60s with health breakdowns related to decades of almost nonstop drinking. His son, my father, ended up following in his footsteps, and he was an active alcoholic before I hit middle school, and he did a lot of damage to himself and to his wife and his kids. Thanks be to God, he hit his own personal rock bottom and got sober on Halloween, 1980. My father enjoyed 38 years of continual sobriety in AA. Thanks be to God. We reconciled pretty much to a great extent later in life. And I never really felt that I was in danger of becoming an alcoholic myself, although having one extra wine with dinner, maybe a cocktail in the night time or with friends here and there, a little nightcap, started to become a habit. Even a slight amount of being under the influence can affect your thinking. It certainly did mine. And in my case, it became something of a mild anxiety reducer. That drink once in a while, or more often than I was admitting, took the edge off. Another thing is, and this is just a personal quirk, I cannot stand even the slightest trace of a hangover. I hate it. The headache, the weak, no energy feeling. Ugh, I hate it. Not worth it. Don't miss it. As a Catholic, I know that getting drunk on purpose is a mortal sin because you're destroying the gift of God known as your reason. I just found it really easy to make little excuses to have a Manhattan here, maybe two. If I went to Costco to buy some drinks for a party, I was always surprised at how expensive alcohol is today, but I kept buying it. By the way, that's another bonus for quitting drinking. It really helps the family budget. Now, this is no big whoop. I'm not doing this as a pride thing. I'm also a sinner. And although my Lord and Savior suffered and died to forgive my sins, you and I can still play a small part in making up for the years that the locusts stole. We can make reparation for sins perpetrated against Christ and the church at the hands of our enemies from without and, sadly, from within the church. And there's plenty of both around. I'm not a teetotaler or a Puritan. I believe alcohol is good in itself because God made it. But it made sense for me to freely renounce it. Still, I hope what I'm saying right now inspires someone, maybe you, to at least consider the idea of giving it up for your own reasons. Subscribe to this channel, and if you like my videos, which come out every Saturday, check out coffinnation.com as well in the link below. It's the largest culture restoring community in the world, now in 25 countries by God's grace. Keep in touch and leave a comment below. In the meantime, be a saint. What else is there?